Well, hello out there.
Hello.
Hello.
Glad to have
Hello.
you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Absolutely. Wow. Oh, man, I see the gang's all here. They're coming in. Come on in. Come on in. Hey, if you haven't ever joined us here in the Zoom meeting room, you can do so by just going to the Facebook Professionals Group page in Facebook. There's always a link there that you can click on. Just come on into Zoom. You can join us here and be a part of the discussion. Or if you just want to hang out, out there in Facebook land or whatever, you can always put a little message in the chat box there, and I look over there and see what you guys are thinking, talking about from time to time. But if you don't want to come on Facebook, I don't blame you. I mean, it's I wouldn't even come in here myself probably if it wasn't for this group. So, but anyway, good to see you guys. Today I was having a little exchange with a potential customer. Yeah, I give people estimates virtually, online through email and through Big Clips as one of those tools I use. In fact, this was a guy I was talking to through Big Clips, and I given him a quote. And I always give people an option for low iron glass, and I have a little, um, premium for the low iron. So this guy got back to me, had a question, and really, really nice, really polite. Not snarky or anything. Was just asking me, hey, I've got a few other quotes, and I see that your price for low iron glass is, substantially higher than your competitors, whatever. So, I got back to him. I have kind of a canned response for people who ask me about my pricing. So it just basically explains that, hey, I'm the best in the area, and to be the best, it just costs a little bit more. I have to have the best tools. I have to, have the best materials, and this is why my price is higher. So he got back to me again and again, really polite, really nice. Can't say anything bad about the guy. He was just asking an honest question, and he just wanted to know, yeah, well, I can understand that, but I'm just talking about specifically about this product. It seems like, it's just a material question. I'm wondering why your price is higher than everybody else's. And how I responded was just to say, I can't tell you how other people price their jobs. Because really, what the question asks, when a person asks me why my price is higher than somebody else's, really what that requires is for me to explain why the other person's price is what it is. And I don't know what the other person's price is. And I have no idea of how to explain how they're coming to that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that other guy's just not charging nearly enough, or maybe he's got, it figured that he's going to work it in some other way. I mean, I think some people might bait and switch. I mean, I'm sure there's nobody in my area who does that. But I know that there are people who will throw out, kind of a low ball price. And once they get on the job, they start jacking prices up and stuff like that. But anyway, I just thought this is a great topic to discuss in our forum because we have such a varied group of people, all different size groups, all different kinds of markets. And, when it comes to pricing and estimating, in my opinion, I think that's one of the most complicated
Mm.
parts of being in the construction business. It took me a lot of years to figure out um, how to price things, how to estimate things, and now I've got my formula for doing that I use. Basically, I mean, the answer is, how do I come up with my price? Well, I've got a formula. I've worked out over like a couple of decades, and I'm still perfecting that every day. So I'm just curious how you guys go about estimating jobs. What are some techniques? I mean, I don't want you to give away your secrets because that's another thing. I mean, how you quote a job is kind of a trade secret too, right? I mean, that's kind of your special sauce, you know. So without giving too much away, I'm wondering if you would like to discuss this topic with me.
I don't. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey,
Hello. Hey.
Finally here.
Hey, Adria. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you again.
Nice seeing you.
buddy.
It's a coincidence you guys are talking about this because I'm running into a few problems this week with a competitor in town that it's outbidding me by $700 to $800 per job. I don't know how that's happening. It's frustrating.
I guess the big difference is how big was the job. If it was a $3,000 job, there's a big margin in there. But if it was a $1,200 job and he beat you by 700, that's significant. So I guess you have to see how big the job was first
Well,
to get a comparison.
One job was 2,800. I bid at 28. He bid it at 2,000. I'm like, and we use basically the same supplier. And I know my glass cost was like $955 for that one, and his was probably close to that. And I don't know how, and his price was $2,000. That's what the customer told me when I called to follow up. So I just, yeah. So I don't know. I'm not gonna stoop down to their levels either. I mean, I'm gonna just let my work, speak for itself. But I don't know. It's frustrating,
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of exactly the point, of what I'm bringing up is just like I can't really speak to how other people price their stuff. I mean, I don't know what system, what method they're using. And I think some
Yeah.
people, well, like I remember when I was new, I got a lot of calls from people who I think were my competitors,
Uh-huh.
just trying to find out how I was pricing things, just to get an idea of that, or maybe deciding how to price their stuff based on how I was pricing my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of your questions are in the same thing. You're talking about low iron. He's talking about an overall job, but it still comes down to pricing, right?
Yeah, it does.
And you got to look at it, Chris. And I don't know how well you know that other competitor, and Adria, I don't know how well you know that competitor. But if they're bidding that much lower, that means they really need the work. Because right now, nobody should really need the work that much to beat it by that much because they're leaving too much money on the table. That only tells me they're hurting.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is I know him. We call each other. I call him. I go to his shop. We hang out and stuff. It's just, I just, it's just they're good jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but sometimes there is a few jobs that we don't bid apples to apples. He does things, because so I use Old Castle. Old Castle's more custom. There's no standard heights, there's no standard doors. You order as you order what you want. He uses a stock door company, which as long as you stay within their door sizes and then whatever. So I mean, when I go bid out to customers, sometimes I'll give them my my ideas because they want your idea. Pretty much. They always ask, "Oh, what do you think? What do you suggest? What's standard?" I go, "Nothing is standard." With me, you go any high, you go to the ceiling. I don't care. But so I know he uses a company that stocks their doors. So I don't know if I mean, when I go bid one thing and then he bids a whole different thing because those stock door companies are not as flexible as like Old Castle, where they could, you have more, options with them.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because listen to what you just said. It sounds like there's a difference between a frameless shower door versus a custom frameless shower door.
Yeah, and I do mine more custom. I'm very particular when I measure. I don't care if it's a 16th or an 1/8 inch. I'm getting that 16th or 1/8 inch out of square. It doesn't matter if it's so. That's how I am. So I know some stock door companies. I know some stock door companies, when they're not like that, it costs us more. Right. So I mean,
Adrian, do you know who WBS is up there?
Yes, I do.
Is that who they use? Because they have a
Yeah,
lot of stock
I
stuff.
I use WBS too. I use them for my frame charge when I do
Yeah,
like my what do you call it, subdivisions. I
everyday
use
shower
them.
door.
Yeah, they're good frameless. They're a good frame company. They got good
Oh
product in
yeah,
their frame.
yeah, yeah.
Way better than Cardinal and those other guys. I mean, they're
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 perfect. I
way
mean,
good.
they're good.
Yeah, they're good. And I'm close to Nicole. I could call her up anytime. Hey, Nicole, I need something. She's always on it for me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
yeah. Okay. So let's get back to this topic.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about how do you guys go about figuring out your pricing? Do you have a certain
So
method that you use?
I have a
So I want to say
formula.
something. Pricing is two things: economics and emotions. Economics and emotions. My one of my mentors used to say, "Start with the end in mind." So talk about economics, what your business needs to pay your bills, your overhead, etc., to stay around. To stay around. So Adrian, that guy might be running out of business. He might be having personal problems. You have no idea, right? You have no idea what's going on. So from an economic level, oftentimes we price because of our emotions, what we think we need or what we think they're doing, instead of the emotions of our customers. So economically, you have to back in with margin, whether that's a percentage or a number.
That's what I
Know
do.
your profit margin. So that if you
That's
hit
what
your
I do.
margin, then your net should fall in place, because overhead is overhead. You can turn the lights off all you want. You're not going to save a bunch of money. Your labor and your glass are your two biggest economic points. But then emotion is more important. And that's, Chris, to kind of your point earlier.
Mhm.
Customers' emotions are what finally push that sale over the top.
Mhm.
They'll think about logic, they'll think economics. I can send you guys a bunch of books. It's how they feel about it that will make that final decision. Do they feel like you were clean? Do they feel like you were honest? Did you under promise in the wrong way? Meaning other people are going to bait and switch. I love to bait and switch down. So when we were building our business, it was 2010, 2011. I mean, it was after the recession. Price was sensitive. We would bait and switch the wrong way, meaning I'd say, hey, here's our estimate. I'm going to do everything I can to save you money. That was usually enough to get that job for $400 or $500 extra dollars. At the end of the job, if things went well or if they didn't, I would often give $100 back and say, tell your friends about us. We're trying to grow our business. We want to stick around for the next generation. That alone, that comment was key. And then to Chris's point earlier, the canned message and are presenting it. Are they seeing it so they know apples to apples? Or are they reading your guys' hieroglyphics of estimates and trying to decide? They're not going to tell you, I'm sorry, I don't understand what the hell this means. They're going to say, what does it look like? Are we talking apples to apples? What is the advantage of Starfire versus Clear? So I can go off on this topic. I'm not going to, but I want you guys to think about, where are your customers' emotions? How do they feel about you when you present your price? Keith Dobman 101, where's your empathy? The economics, are you pricing to keep yourself in business so that when they call you in 2 years and they need your help, you're still going to be around? And do they feel that as part of your business? And lastly, does it have a story? A lot like the Dobmans and stuff. They feel like they're part of a story, part of a movement, part of something that matters, part of a brand. And that is that extra little bit of money that they're paying for because they believe in what you're doing. So I want to open the floor to those topics. And please tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm off my rocker, because I have a lot to learn still, especially Bill.
Jim,
I mean, I
you're
know for
spot
me.
on.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
No, I was going to say Jim's spot on. And we were talking about this. It's building your brand. Now, Adrian, why do they want to? They got your quote. They heard about you, or you've done work for them, or whatever it is. They want to do business with you. Sometimes they're throwing another price. In this case, you lost it. Maybe your competitor knows that you're very strong, and the only way he's going to win it is not on quality, but on price. That lasts, and that happens sometimes. But you know darn well, if you sold it for that price that he's selling it to, you're not going to be around very long with the overhead that you're carrying. Don't sweat about it. You're a good technician. Don't undersell your quality, and just keep going, because there's a ton other out there that want your quality. And it all comes down to building your brand. Make them want your brand. We've talked about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Make them want your door, even if they have to wait 5 weeks for you. Make them want you. So
People buy from people they know, like, and trust. Do they
Yeah.
know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? Does your estimate have a story? Does it have pictures? It's an extra few minutes. And if the economy happens to turn in a few years, those of you with brands and those of you with solid reputations and those of your customers feel good about you, you'll be in business for as long as you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No truer words were spoken. And that's true for every single one. And I look at everybody's posts. I looked at Lana's and Brian's, and it goes on and on. Everybody that posts, you do great work. You don't need to undersell yourself. People will come to you because of your work. There's a kid that posts all the time. He's a young kid, Gavin Otero out of New Jersey. I see his posts all the time.
Yeah.
He does a great job marketing. I wish he was on this post. And this is a kid that works by himself, and he does a super job.
Yes.
And he's building his brand. He's doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true.
So Chris, going back to your thing about low iron, it doesn't matter if it's low iron, a coating, an upgrade handle. You may charge more for an upgrade handle than that guy does. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what's the overall cost of the door and what's it worth to him to take a risk over somebody that he doesn't know, as opposed to somebody that's got 1,000 5-star Google reviews or whatever it is that you have that's in your bag. It's a risk, and now it gets into emotions at that point, just like Jim says, and Keith always talks about your empathy, your emotional attachment to the job.
Mm-hmm.
People buy, their biggest stress in buying is fear, right? They're afraid to sign it because they're afraid you're going to rip them off. They're afraid they're not going to get something. They're afraid of a leak.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to solve those fears, and then they'll buy from you. And quite honestly, in many cases, it's not the price. It really isn't. They may say it is, but it's not.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and my case is a little bit unique because my customers primarily are people who are just wanting me to do the work. So generally speaking, I have people who contact us and say, hey, we want you to do the job. It's really not a matter of price. And so what happens is I get kind of a backlog of people who want us to do the work and are willing to pay what we charge. Then I have, that kind of odd customer.
I know what
who
he's doing.
says,
He's not charging 2
I
hours
have
a pound VR.
this odd customer who comes along and says, hey, can you do it for less? And then my response is, well,
No.
I've got people waiting kind of in line to pay me full price. I mean, why would I do it for you for less money? Now, I'm not a big company with a bunch of trucks running, so my situation is different, and I wouldn't really advise anybody, to use my method because, again, it's a very unique business. But that's the case with me. So I know that I can get what I charge. Because that's what my experience is. But my experience is not typical, I don't think.
What is your method of pricing? I mean, we're far apart from each other. I'm not going to go into your town and take any of your work. I'm just curious how you.
My method of pricing is I use Showers Online, and I just have Showers Online set up to where I plug everything in there, and it tells me the price. So I've just dialed that. I've dialed that in over the years, of just tweaking this and tweaking that. It doesn't happen really quick. You have to kind of figure out if it's just a single door, what's it going to be, if it's a door and a panel, if it's a door and 2 panels, and then you can add kind of a percentage per square foot or whatever. And it like I say, I mean, it's taken quite a while to get it to where.
But Showers Online, you can't put the hardware price in there. You got to kind of figure that out on your own, right?
No, I've got it. It all does it all for me.
Really?
Does the whole thing, yeah. So I just plug in my numbers, my outages, the specifications, and then it punches out a number, and I present them with that number, and it'll be like $2,942.38. I mean, it'll be like an exact number. And the good thing about that is that if you say $2,000, that sounds like a price you can haggle with, But if you say $2,195.63, I mean, that sounds like a pretty exact price.
Yeah. What I do, I always do my drawings, I send them over to my old castle, and they fax me over a quote, and then I go from that quote to my pricing. I have a formula. I get my cost, put my taxes, then my markup, and then I put my labor, and then I add other fees to it, like the showers online fee. I add that to each quote because that thing's not free to use. So I add that, and then I add $10 for gas, something like that, and then also we add in credit card usage too, because that's expensive as well. That's not free. Someone has to pay for that. So we add that. It's a surcharge. So we put that in there too. So I mean, but I like your idea.
That sounds kind of complicated to me. I mean, it's like
It does.
me,
I like your idea because you just punch it in, and then you get it right away. Where like me, the customer is waiting a day for them to price. And
yeah,
I rather
I do mine on site. I mean, I've got an
see,
iPad
I would
with
like to
me.
do that. Just write it on site, give them a price, and
I leave with the check.
Yeah, you don't have you don't have room for another competitor to go in and to go in. You just like, oh, okay, you got your price.
You got to be
right.
pretty quick if they're going to get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
one thing, guys, for a lot of us in this group, math kissed me goodbye a long time ago. Like a lot of us, like glass math, I know, right? I was lucky enough to have a financier as a father, right? So I grew up being shamed on my basics, but it's really easy, guys. There's a difference between percentages and dollars, and it's important between knowing the difference between markup and margin, because just marking it up, and I'd love to hear Bill's comments, of course, obviously with the size of his operation, but you can't trust your math. We're tired at the end of our shop. We're on site. We got screaming baby, or we're in a hurry. Really find, whether it's CRL Showers Online, bid clips, smart builder, whatever, find your system and make sure that it's dialed and ready so you don't have to sit there and worry about it. But most importantly, be working with your accountant, be working with your goals. Again, start with the end in mind. Where do I want to be in 5 years financially, or the end of the year, or the end of the month, preferably end of the week for some of you using big clips, and back your way into it with pricing. Like your travel charges, those things should all just be laced in, ready to go. And you have to know your margin. So it's going to be a different profit on a $4,000 shower than there's going to be on 1,000. But some of us all get in the habit of 2.2 plus labor. That's good. And at the end of the year, you're like, I'm out of money. I won all the jobs I didn't want to win. I lost some of the big jobs I should have won. And oh my God, what happened? And I've got this pile of receipts. Now I have to dig through the last minute to get to my account. That's a stressful way to run a business. And I know, because I've been there, everybody. Like, I'm not sitting here, and I had to learn pretty quickly to learn our numbers, but make it simple. Lean on some of us. Private message me. Just reach out to us if you're like, hey, just take a quick look. I know some of you have, and some of you have taken me up on it. So if you haven't, I will look with that with you. I'll look through your budget line if you'd like me to do that and help you out. Simple, simple, simple. But don't just rely on markup and our own brain. Try to find a structure that works for you, and reach out to us if you don't have one.
What is Smart Build? I heard you say that. What is that?
Just one of the many various point of sale programs that you can use. But here's the thing: you hire a software, whether it's us or anybody, you have to make sure you're updating your cost structure. A lot of our clients run these really smart sheets, or they'll update their pricing every other week as they get the old castle receipts and it's going up 10%. You better than be taking your pricing up 15 to 20, to mark up that margin cost. And so there's all sorts of, so whether it's a program, Adrian, like Smart Builder is just one of the point of sale softwares. There's Main Street. There's, some people just use QuickBooks. Some people use CRL Showers Online. Some people use, obviously Big Clips works with them all. It's a different thing. We have our own pricing metrics in there too. I'm just saying the old fashioned pen and paper has gotten me personally in a lot of trouble over the years. Chris brought up a really good point. Dial in your system, make sure it's accurate, and don't just let pricing or your finances or your numbers just be something that you push off to the side. You have to do great work while knowing your numbers at the same time, and that's hard to do. But make it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, we have Main Street, and we use Big Clips too. We use both of those. And I also have Showers Online, but I haven't really tuned into the using it as far as pricing. I would like to do that, to get more.
And having the tool is one thing, Adrian. Knowing how to set it up, and that's why I reach out to me privately. So I'll just take my email. I'll post it in the chat. Reach out if you want to look at it, because I'm glad you have it, but I want to make sure you have that all in there so you don't have to do it manually, like you were just saying, because it should just be as easy as I got my costs in there. I'm ready to go. I got my sizes. I'm ready to go. So.
Do you guys like? Does anybody use the showers online from FHC? Is that any good, or is it the same thing? Did you ever use that one?
I don't use it, but from what I've heard, it's identical as to the CRL because FHC is the CRL guys, and the guys that went over to FHC brought over all the same technology.
Okay.
Should be identical.
Yeah, I'm sure it's exactly the same thing.
The only
Yeah,
thing
it's,
is,
it's
Is there
pretty much
somebody?
the
Is there
same.
some? Oh, go ahead.
I use the one from FHC. I did the trial with showers online from CRL. I found FHC. Me personally, I found it a little easier to use. Maybe it was just because I wasn't familiar with showers online, but I found FHC. But it's identical program. It's all pretty much the same stuff. And I do the same thing that Chris does. I have all my numbers and everything kind of dialed in. And when I find myself starting to win every job I quote, I go back in and kind of tweak it a little bit because I want to lose a couple. Ideally, I want people to come and say, hey, you were, $200 higher than the other guy. So we're going to go with him. If I'm getting everything, and we've said that here, if you're getting everything, you might be pricing too low. So I don't want to do that.
And if you did, that's so smart, Brian, because a lot of us, everybody I ask in tours, what's your closing ratio? All of you are exactly at 80. Everyone's 8 out of 10. I'm like, we don't know, we're just guessing. So also tracking your closing ratio, whether it's by hand or using big clips or using your program, track it so realistically, guys, we should be between 60 and 75%. If you're closing higher than 75%, the market is telling you economics over emotions. The market is telling you you're too cheap. If you're only closing 30%, the market is telling you you're too expensive. This can't be on one sale. One customer tells you you're expensive. This is on at least 30 is the raw statistic, at least 30 sales for you to actually say, what is my closing ratio? And that's really important. That's not just a KPI I joke about, a key performance indicator. That's something we just need to know. Again, Big Clips does it. Other programs do it. It's up to you guys to just make sure we know those numbers so that you don't just guess when we ask you. I love when someone like that, Brian, says, I'm at about 6 to 7.5. I try to be right at about 7. What can we do to get back to 6 and make more money?
Let me add to that, Jim, because that's so good. But people need to know what they're basing that number on. When you say your closing ratio is 8 out of 10, is it 8 out of 10 that you've already qualified, or is it 8 out of 10 phone calls that your company receives, which we call opportunities? They're not really leads at this point, right? Your phone rings, somebody asks you a question, you're trying to qualify them. You may lose 3 right off the bat during the pre-qualification call. Now, are you including that in your numbers or are you not? Because you've already taken those off the table. So keep in mind when you say to somebody, I'm closing 8 out of 10, is it 8 out of 10 that are already pre-qualified, or is it 8 out of 10 of everybody that has made contact with you? That's a big difference.
That's a great point. And 2 out of 10, you're going to want to fire right out of the chutes because they're going to be Home Depot shopper. They just really aren't a good fit for your business. Great point, Bill. So there's 2. Great. I ask when estimates given to close. I actually say to people, how many estimates are sitting on your desk that nobody called you back on? That you've drawn up. That has to be qualified if you've already, I hope, if you've driven to their home. But great point. You should be tracking both. What's your call in close and your estimate given close? And those are 2 metrics most CRMs will give you. And your total call volume. You're probably taking up way too many phone calls in general. How many of those are sales calls versus calls coming in that could be automated through unnamed softwares out there that can help cut those calls down so they are just opportunity calls and not, where's my glass, when they could just be getting text messages saying it's coming, just relax. So great point, Bill. Fantastic. For me, just to clarify, it's usually how many estimates are sitting on your desk to how many you gave, how many you closed. And that's the easy way to track it for all of you right now over a given period of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad if you're trying to track your advertising and your cost per acquisition, or what they call cost per customer acquisition. That's a different story. So if you want to say, okay, I ran a particular ad, I got 100 phone calls out of that. Okay, now that's the top of the funnel and you're all in that funnel, but how many get to the bottom of the funnel where they say, yes, let's go ahead. You've already given me the information. Let's go ahead and make that estimate. I call those qualified leads. Now, out of those qualified leads, how many do you close? that should be a very high number. It should be higher than 80%. They already are pre-qualified. They know the price. It's your salesman's job to lose it at that point. It should be a check. It should be just a matter of measuring and collecting payment if they've already been pre-qualified, which means either you've given them a lot of detail, you've sent them inspirational photos and a proposal via email, or they actually got in their car and came to your showroom and you did your whole dog and pony show and showed them everything available. Now, if you can get that dog and pony show, chances are your sales is going to be higher than it would have been if they just ordered something without seeing and feeling and touching the 1/2-inch glass, seeing the low iron, seeing the upgraded handle, and seeing the benefit of some kind of coating that you can put on the glass. Once they get that, they're putty in your hands. You're going to be able to sell them the whole gamut. So that $1,200 or $1,500 door is going to be a $2,300, $2,400 door. That's how you start making money, because one crew is coming back with a check for 23, as opposed to that same crew with the same amount of time to install that glass coming back with a check for 1,300. Big difference. So that's how you qualify them.
I'm gonna offend a few people on this call, and I'm okay with it. Well, you guys, I hope you heard something here. If your business looks like a funnel, you are in an upper echelon of our clientele base. A lot of you, your business is a blender. My business was a blender, and that's your step one to disaster. And so I love what Bill just put down. And my takeaway is, what do we need to get to where we actually know our funnel, or we actually know our steps, where we actually get there? And if you're feeling like it's a blender, you're not alone, by the way. I talk to a lot of you every week. But just know that the first step is, and so that percentage is just a raw, I don't like to give away too much off of our top level user base of what the estimates given to closed rate is. We can't track everybody's phones because we don't have access to other phone systems. But Bill is right. You kill it in the very beginning. You start that funnel, you start those touch points, you start that automation, which I know you're like, well, if we all had Bill's company, we could do it. Well, you can do it with 2 people. Bill didn't start with a big company. They started, go listen to my podcast with Keith. They started very small as a family. I'm sure you had a funnel then too, Bill. So we can all take inspiration to, the point is, you ask Bill anything right now, he's going to know his numbers. And I'm going to put him on a pedestal. He hates that, but he's going to know his numbers. You ask my dad anything, he knows his numbers for 20 years, down to the T, closing ratios of each service. We all have to get there, and you don't have to be mathletes to get there. It's just putting it in place and then being excited about it. We do this game for the scoreboard. If you want to do charity, go join your church and do things for the community. We are in it to make business, to make a profit, to then bless our people, our employees, our brand, and our community around us. It's a holistic approach.
Yeah. So, Chris, your topic is so good, and it can be expanded into so many things. But I'm going to throw something out there as a help for everybody. I'm not going to mention a name here, but somebody on this group had reached out after one of our meetings about a number of things within the business. And I suggested to this person that there is a free, emphasize that, free service out there to every single buddy in this group and every business. And it's called the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. They're set up throughout the country by the Small Business Administration. And basically, they're there to mentor any, and I mean any, small business that asks for free. They'll assign you a mentor. So they'll sit down and go through your P&L. And if you get somebody that's really good, you'll take them on as a mentor, and they'll work for you for free. They'll bring you back advice. You can say, what is my demographic in Kansas City? What's the median home price? What's the population? Should there be a my shower door in Kansas City? And they'll come back to that. I don't have to do that work. They'll do it for you. But they'll also sit down and go through your P&L, your balance sheet, and they'll even look at your deadbeat customers and see what percentage of your deadbeat customers are there. Believe it or not, maybe you can increase your credit lines to some customers. You can afford to do that. That's one thing that I got from my mentor. We were down to under 1% of deadbeat customers, where less than 1% of our revenues we had to go after, whether I had to put a lien on the house or sue them or whatever the case. At 1%, you're doing pretty good. You could actually up that to almost 4%, which is an amazing number, and it blew me away. But when you do that, if you set credit terms, and that gets into a whole nother thing, maybe that's a little too deep. But if you've got one builder that you're doing and you put them on credit, and they hit their credit limit and they haven't paid you, you might want to look at what kind of terms you set up. Maybe I'm too deep into this.
No, actually, that's a great little tip, because, and it goes right along with what we're talking about, because you can go to the Small Business Development Center, and there's one near you. It's usually like through the Chamber of Commerce or something
Chamber
like that.
or one of your local universities.
Yeah. Here it's like the local colleges, Cabrillo
Yeah.
College here in my area. And like you say, they'll give you a mentor, and they can help you with this pricing thing. I mean, they can help you look at your business and figure out how to effectively, price things. And I think one big key to learning how to estimate is just to learn how to do it consistently. I mean, even if your estimating is like wrong, you're estimating a little low, that's more of a problem usually than estimating a little high. If you're estimating a little high, you might not get as many jobs as you should, but at least you'll make money on the ones that you do get. But once you're doing it consistently, you can tweak it. And then you can go, okay, well, maybe I need to just reduce this, by 5%, or maybe I need to increase this by 5%. And then over time, you can really dial it in. But I think consistency is really the key, because if you're not doing it the same way every time, you're never going to figure out over time whether you're estimating right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Chris, let's go back to your scenario with the low iron. And the guy picked out, that's only one line item in your estimate, I'm assuming. You're giving him an option of the low iron, and he zeroed in on that, and he said you're high on that. But did he comment on where you were with the regular, your base price, your labor, everything else that you may have laid out there?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like I was in the ballpark on everything. I mean, from the way he was explaining it.
Yeah. Here's what we found out from our manufacturing end. We sell glass to a lot of other shower door companies. And the only thing they ask us is, what do you charge per square foot? They don't ask what's your fabrication cost. What do you charge per flat polish? What do you charge for miters and all that? Where they really should look at the whole package and say, this shower, how much does it cost me? I don't care what the breakdown is. Give me the total. And that's what this guy should have asked you. You're doing your estimate. Let's look at the total as opposed to just the low iron part of it.
Right. And, and that's what I do. My estimates aren't line items. I mean, I don't tell people this much for this and this much for that. It's just a bottom line. The only breakdown is add this much for low iron glass. And that's the only place where I do that. Now, if they say, well, I want to add a towel bar, if I want to add something, then I'll always, I can come back and say, well, that'll be this much additional. But I learned from a general contractor who kind of mentored me a little bit at the beginning, that you don't have to. I mean, some people do give, an itemized estimate for it's going to be this much for this, going to be this much for that. But you don't have to. You can just tell them, this is the bottom line. This is parts, material, sales tax, everything. And that's generally how I approach it.
Yeah. A couple of trains of thoughts. I mean, Tom Whitaker used to have this big menu thing. He would send out an estimate with your basic door and then give them a whole checklist of things for them to self-check off themselves. Do you want low iron? Yes. Do you want coating? At that time it was shower guard. Yes. Do you want upgrade handles? Yes. And they would end up upgrading themselves. He didn't have to do anything. Now, I don't want to say that they didn't discuss it and teach them what each of those items were, but he certainly didn't force it. He gave a base price and let them check off. And he found he was getting 10 to 15% more per job by letting them add those little menu items.
Yeah, and actually in this particular customer that I'm talking about, or potential customer, is actually through bid clips. And a bid clips allows you to do that. It allows you to kind of add things to like tick boxes, and so that's how I have it in there. It's as an extra. It's just check here for low iron. So I guess you check that box and like, whoa, it went way up, and it does. I mean, for me to install low iron glass, it's expensive. It adds a lot to the bottom line. I think like 25.
And you could put And you can put little pictures and videos on the add-ons so that people know what they're paying for. That's the other part. It's not just a line item that says low iron. You can do an image, a head-to-head, kind of like keep that video, the two combinations. Same with your warranty or and the amount of squeegees we sell through the program, it blows my mind. People just add those $40 to the ticket. $40. They can buy it at $12 at Bed Bath & Beyond. They'll drop $40. Your guy just brings it out. That's profit to the bottom line for no additional 2 clicks to order the squeegee. So, there's lots of ways to add to your ticket. I love what Bill said. You want your teams coming back with $2,300, not just what they were walking into. The whole idea is to get there and have people trust you more and want to do more work with you, add mirrors, add other things where they're coming back excited. I mean, that's the best way to maximize your labor, everybody, is to not go the other direction.
All right, I got to tell you this story. This is a riot. We do a lot of high rises, and the people in the high rises, they talk to their neighbors. And some of them, you would think they're their best friends. They go out to dinner all the time with them. So we went to an estimate last week, and a lady says, I know you did my neighbors, and she raved about you. What did she get? So we pulled out her paperwork. We didn't say the pricing, but we saw what her standard was. So yeah, she got 3/8 clear and this and that. She said, I want something better. What else can we do? It says, well, we can go 1/2-inch glass. We can go low iron. I mean, we're coming out of the thing with $6,300, where her neighbor bought it for $3,700.
And the best part is the neighbor's going to come hire you to do. The neighbor's going to come hire you to one up it again in about 6 months. So it's like a win-win all the way across the board.
It was unbelievable.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
She didn't want to keep up. She wanted to do better. She wanted to set the higher standard. It was amazing.
I had a sister war one time like that. I had one sister build one mansion across from each other, and one wanted to outdo the other, and the price kept on going up and up. And I did both houses. And I did pretty well in those houses. And what did she do? Oh, she did this. I want it better. Okay, fine. We get it better.
So Adrian, don't worry about this guy beating you up over $700. Go get more of those jobs.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Concentrate on your positive. Don't let the negative take you down. Don't do it.
I know. It just bothers me because the only thing it bothers me the most is that he's devaluing the industry. Like, I hate when they do that. It's like there's not very many installers around my area. We're around our metropolitan area. We have about 110,000 people, and there's probably only about four shower companies in this area to service over 100,000 people. The only thing is, I'm like, man, why is he underselling himself when I'm selling? He knows what I charge, but then he goes ahead and just underbids me like this all the time. Like, I gave him room to make money himself, but they continue doing this over and over again. Just like the auto glass industry, they're just gonna. I'm just like, man, they're gonna kill it. This is like, they're not gonna get away from. I don't know. I'm just.
It's good. Adrian, let him bring the industry down. You take the high road, and customers will ask, okay, something's off here. Yeah. I'll tell you about. I don't get started on auto glass. That's obviously our backbone, but it's coming back now because a lot of the bottom feeders just fell off the map. If you take the high road, the thing is, I love your competitiveness. If you don't have that, you shouldn't be in business. So I do love that you're just like angst over it. That's important.
Yeah,
be competitive. Be competitive in the right arena. Be competitive in the right space. I used to love beating my friends for more money and then calling them and taunting them in the industry. Like we would have jokes of who could win on service. That's how we prop the industry up. Let the bottom feeders go. They're going to burn bridges. It'll catch up to them. Just take the high road and wipe it off, and then go to that pile of that missed estimates. Call back and say, hey, did he do the job he said he was going to do, or she said she's going to do? I'd still like to earn your business. The number of times, and Chris, I don't know if this happened to you, a number of times customers will call back into like big clubs and say, well, the promises they made, they just didn't even call back. So then they just book our ticket like 3 weeks later. They'll just book it and say the other guy didn't show up. The promise was fake. So you just don't know. So just stay that high road and drive that fuel into the right areas of your business.
That does happen to me. I do have people come back because people we have customers who will call us and say, we had some other glass shop come out. They came out, they measured, they never sent us an estimate. And it's like, I can't imagine how someone can afford to go out, lay out a job, and then not even follow up. But that's what we're up against. And
Well,
if,
I went
if
out
that's
to
who I'm
one.
competing with, I think I can hold up to that.
I went out to one today for a lady that had somebody. Two companies come. The one gave her a price. The other one never called her back. You know.
Mm-mm.
And then you go back to talking about auto glass. We used to do it, and we always follow the NAGS guideline. Then all of a sudden, all these guys just came in and they never followed it, so we got out of it.
Same here. We did it too.
And,
I don't
and now the
I don't
companies
miss that.
doing premier work with the calibrations and they're doing better work are just driving tons of profit. It's a highly profitable, but you're right though. I mean, you're right in that you can't go with the crowd to the bottom. You separate yourself. You be comfortable being more expensive if your brand delivers it. I have to say it. You cannot be more expensive and do a terrible job, not come fix your problems. I think you guys know that to me. That should be a baseline if you're in this call. I think if you're in this call, you're probably doing that. And then the other thing, Adrian, is take that extra job you didn't have to do, focus it into branding, reach out to SBC, reach out to me, reach out to one of us, maybe beef up your showroom. Take it as an opportunity to grow your business and not a loss.
Yeah, I want to beef up my showroom. We're gonna do that within the next month or so. But yeah, I'm really interested of maximizing the usage of showers online, because I don't think I am. It's a great tool to build your shower and see, to get what you want and make sure you get your deductions and everything, where you want. And, and ever since I've used it and I haven't had any issues, with installations. And one thing I do like about it though, is that I can send my order straight from Showers Online to Oldcastle. So I'll just have an order button, boom, goes to them, right to them. And it asks me if I want to send hardware or just glass. That's what I like about that too. And ever since I've been doing that, everything's been golden with them. Exception of I've been getting kind of little rub marks and stuff lately, but I've been complaining. But hopefully they work that out. But
Yeah, but it's a powerful platform. It's like most software that you use, probably you're not using it to the max, So it takes a while of using a particular software before you really figure out, oh, it does this too. Oh, it does that too. Oh man, I could have been doing this with that all this time.
Yeah. I've had it for about almost a year and a half. The issue, I ran into an issue yesterday. I guess Oldcastle, they use Niagara glass instead of rain glass.
Viagra? Oh.
And so I tried to send it in order to them, and they didn't allow me to. And then and I called CRL. I go, hey, how do you add a glass? How do you do this? And the person on the other line didn't know what the heck they were doing too. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. Yeah. So I don't know. I gotta talk to one of you guys. I gotta talk to Jim. And how come? Are you with Big Clips, Jim?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Married to it.
We have Bill's our rep. I think that we use. I think his name's Bill.
Yeah.
That's what we use.
Bill is the greatest. He'll spend plenty of hours with you.
Yeah, Bill's a great guy, man.
Also, I would say that you pick someone in your team to learn the program too. And again, I'm not trying to plug it, but if you go to my last podcast with the service station team, remember that's a full shower estimating team. We sell doors for people all over the country, design them. So if you're having a hard time with the design, or maybe you lost an employee, please reach out to us. We love to help you all. That's why we do our entire company. So reach out to the team. CRL is not easy, guys. And if you're not using it all the time, you lose it a little bit. The other day I was going to go in. I haven't been in for a couple of weeks, and it's a complex door. I still have to do them for my friends because they just won't take no for an answer. And I had to remember, my point is, so pick someone in your staff that learns it, go through the CRL, learn it, spend time with it, get repetition. And if you're really having a hard time and you're making mistakes, reach out to Service Station and we'll take over for you and help out.
Okay.
There you go.
I do need help. Yeah, I can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't have no problem with the design issue. I'm having the issue with like the pricing cost, like Chris does. He goes and prices it out right there in front of the customer and gets a check. I mean, that's what I would like to do. Close the deal.
Feels good. Feels good.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, I get, quite a bit. I get my fair share. I don't lose very often, but when I do, I hate it.
Well, hey, who else? Who's thinking of something that we haven't covered yet? I know you guys are just chomping at the bit to say something.
So I have a question. So how many people use, you go to Oldcastle and you order your glass and the hardware. And you get the glass, the hardware doesn't show up.
Well, that's why I switched to portals.
It happens from time to time. I mean, I don't have it very often. I do exactly that thing. I order from Oldcastle, and I have them supply the hardware, and usually it shows up. I mean, they drop the ball here and there, but for
Well,
the most
because
part,
it's
they
not
do a pretty
available.
good job.
And that's been a huge issue with us recently. I used United Plate Glass out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been buying hardware and glass from them. They're really prompt on the glass, but they use CRL, so all these shortages, supply chain shortages and challenge, especially when it comes to things like oil rub bronze and brush bronze. We have had a rash of customers who want brush bronze, and I'm seeing lead times out to April. And when you try to source them from FHC or some of the other companies,
I don't have
they're
it either.
even
They're the same
they're
way.
even short, and it works for a lot of the basic things. But we've gone to inventorying some stuff that we can inventory, but we're still experiencing the supply chain issues with things like brush bronze and oil rub bronze.
Yeah.
So, Mike, when we experienced that, when I was dealing with CRL, I would order raw brass, get it in unfinished, and then find a local plater, and then just bring them to a local plater and get them done. You're going to pay a premium. It's going to be more than if you ordered them already finished. I mean, when you order the raw brass, it's less money, right? But by the time you pay your plater, it costs more. But you get the job done. You can turn it around. You please the customer.
Mhm.
I think it's a good option to pursue if you can find a local plater.
Was
Now,
the quality good? Is
I
the
have a
quality
question.
acceptable?
Depends who you get, and sometimes it's color matching. If you get everything done, the handle, the clips, the hinges, all done by one plater, then your set looks good, but you got to make sure it's close to the plumbing fixtures. So you have to give them a sample to color match. Most platers are pretty darn good at it, though. They
Do
really
you
are.
have to break down the hinge and
Yes.
the different components and
You
then
can do it, or
reassemble the hinge?
Yes, you can do it, or they can do it. Now, Brian, that's a great question, and most guys don't like doing that. But I tell you what, over time, it's the best thing you could do, because then you learn that hinge inside out. It's going to seem clumsy. There's a retaining spring in there that fits on the cam. That's kind of awkward to put back in. You have to get a special pliers set up to squeeze the springs so you can load it in there. But once you do it and you get the marine grease that you put in there, it's the best thing you could do, because now you know that hinge inside and out. So yeah, it's going to hurt for the first few times learning it. I would video it as you take it apart so you can put it right back together. But it's a really good option.
Good to know. Never thought about that.
Yeah, you can order them raw, and they have them readily available.
Robbie,
Who?
So-
C.R. Lawrence or who?
Most suppliers. Just tell them you want it raw brass, so that you're going to keep them in stock for these jobs that you get with the odd finishes that they seem to run out of. When it might be one that you just have to get done for a certain customer, and you can't bill the whole job until you get that one done. So don't let one shower tie up an invoice for 10 showers, unless you do partial billing.
Just Google maybe guys who plate.
Yeah, local
do metal
platers.
finishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have polishing machines. They'll buff it out. They do a really good job. But like I said, you're not getting the bulk pricing. And you may not get it. You won't get it overnight, that's for sure. But it might be in a 2 or 3 week period. But that's doable. If you get raw brass channeling, same thing. You can get your channeling done. You can get clips, clamps, hinges, all that stuff.
Wow.
And now,
But in
so where do you
California,
go to
that's not
do?
going to happen.
Where do you
I'm
go to
sorry.
get that done, Bill?
A local plater. Just, you can Google whoever does plating in your area. Yeah. The other option is forget the finishes and get powder paint to something that blends with this tile or the stone. And, sometimes you offer that to a customer and say, I can't get that champagne gold right now, but I can get you this almond color that kind of blends with everything. And lots of times they're agreeable to that. And then you can just get it powder painted.
Yeah, the champagne color is hard to get.
It's real hard to get. And not every vendor is the same.
I talk to my vendors. They say they ain't gonna match it. They're gonna they tell me that you got to just find something close.
Yeah.
So CRL says they're not making one, and so isn't Portals. They're just like, nope, sorry. So
Yeah, lots of times your brushed nickel doesn't match from the same vendor.
Right.
no,
You can get brushed nickel hinges, and you get a handle from Portals that doesn't match.
no, it
or
doesn't.
even from the same supplier. I mean, you get a
Right.
a chrome, get a bright anodized header from CRL, and it doesn't match the rest of
It's
it.
dull.
No, because that's aluminum, and hinges are made of brass, and which
Yeah.
takes a chrome plating, and it's a higher brilliance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But out here in California, we don't have any platers left because of the EPA.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah, but we have powder coaters, though.
yeah, we
Yes,
have
you
powder
do.
coaters too. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, that doesn't help you with that shiny finish, you know.
No.
But help you with any color, you know, you
No.
need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Hey, Chris, let me go back to your original question. There was one other topic we didn't talk about. You were talking about that low iron. And I've learned this as being a fabricator. Depends where your fabricator's getting his low iron glass. Like we buy all domestic, but we get knocked on the door almost weekly from different vendors that are bringing in low iron from South America, South Africa, Saint-Gobain glass, Israel, Turkey, and they're importing it all. And they all have different costs attributed to it. And if your competitor was buying from a vendor that was bringing in imported glass, his cost could be less than if you're buying domestic low iron.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think there was a supplier, I don't remember who it was, maybe Tim will remember, a while back, maybe a year or two back, they were giving out low iron for the cost of clear. So it was probably a situation like you're describing. They were just bringing it in from somewhere and getting it just
Yeah, but-
super cheap. Do you remember
but
that,
yeah.
Tim?
But in our area, we only have Old Castle, Glass Fab. We used to have True Light until they
Right. I think it
Screwed-
might have been those guys or whoever
screwed it up.
And True
most
Light
recently.
sucked.
I mean, they took a business and drove it to the ground out here.
Yeah,
they
good
sure
old days
did.
when States. Yeah, those are good
Western
days.
states, you know that.
Western
And
States.
Chris, still regarding your customer, by any chance, you have an idea how was the base shower? I mean, with the clear glass, maybe the clear glass from the competitor was like higher than yours,
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
right?
And the thing is, for me, since it's just me, and I'm the guy who's like estimating, ordering, sweeping the floors, installing the glass, etc. I mean, I really don't have time for a big long back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Mhm.
it's if it's back and forth a couple of times, then I'm starting to lose money pretty quick because my typical customer is like, "Hey, we want you to do this work. Okay, I'll come and measure." I go measure. They give me a check. I order the stuff. I put it in. They give me another check. The end.
There we go.
So anything different than that is like, oh man, it becomes a drag on me like pretty quickly. And I don't mind, a little back and forth is cool, I mean, a few times, but
Normal.
once it gets to be, several times back and forth, it's just like I can't afford to do that. I've got customers waiting on me.
But out
Yeah.
here, Chris and I only have 2 suppliers to buy from.
Yeah, it's true.
Who you guys buy from?
I get all my stuff from Old Castle. I mean, they just
So do
take
I.
such good care of me. They give me
They
such
do.
good
I use
products.
Glass Fab.
Yeah.
Glass Fab won't come to me. They're a bunch of. Never mind. Yeah, Glass Fab. I try to get them to come to me. I seen them pass through my town and go, "Hey, how come you guys don't come here?" Nope. They pass right through me. I'm like, that's messed up. All
Yeah.
the time.
It's
No,
tough.
Glass Fab treats me well. I've known Mike Gulfark since he was with ACI, for years. So
Yeah.
Remember the
Well,
big
hey,
Old
everybody.
Castle.
We're
Yeah, just
here.
quick question. Old Castle, they use the hardware from CRL?
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
They own CRL now.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Same
They're
company.
under the same group. CRH, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
CRH owns the
Do
group.
you, so do you guys like using Portal? I mean, I've been using them for about a month now. I seem to like them. What's your guys' thought on them?
I think that's a great topic for next week. 6:30, and
Time to go home.
I've got to go
All right.
home. So, hey,
All right.
everybody, good seeing you. See you next Wednesday.